Welcome, everyone. My name is Tim Stewart. I'm from Visual Decisions. With me today, I have Thomas Stecko from Sandalwood, and we're going to be talking about if you're still using Excel or Access on your shop floor for data collection and the issues that you have around scalability and how to address some of that. Thomas, do you want to give an introduction to yourself and Sandalwood?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I appreciate the warm intro. So my name is
Yeah,
Thomas Stecko. 6 years now with Sandalwood Systems Integration Group, and quite funny, my first project was actually with Tim back in 2019. Quite crazy how fast time flies.
absolutely.
In systems integration, I work with various customers across various platforms, tackling various projects in IIoT, smart manufacturing, and cybersecurity. Just a quick note about Sandalwood. Sandalwood is an engineering and ergonomics professional services firm with a goal to help you work smarter and work safer. We do have offices in the United States, Livonia, Michigan, where I'm sitting now, offices in Canada, and offices in Mexico as well.
Excellent. All across North America.
Yeah.
All right. So diving into today's topic, I know we've got some slides that we can share as well. So, can you give us a quick overview of kind of the problem that we'll be addressing today, and you know, some background around what we can do and so forth?
Yeah, so really some of the issues on why these tools still persist.
Mm,
Right? Why are they in our actual platform? Is it because of the behavior and teams are just used to having this specific tool? And what type of concessions there are by moving from a manual experience into a proper smart digital transformation solution using various platforms. And then we'll kind of do a little demo of a project that we've done in the past using inductive automation, which we can talk about that as this webinar goes on.
all right. I mean, I've run into I don't know how many customers. In fact, I would probably say that just about every customer has some amount of Excel or Access or something on the shop floor that they're still using for some form of data collection. Just about everywhere. What have
Yeah.
you seen?
Depends on the customer, depends on the manufacturing process. If we're looking at metrics on, let's say we have a bunch of computers on the line where we're tracking serial numbers, Windows operating systems. The last time the antivirus checks were done, we see a lot of cases where we're seeing Microsoft Excel solely used as the main database, whether we're tracking parts, we're tracking locations in warehouses, and that data is static on the customer's computer. And if we visualize it, where let's say if we have an Excel document with a SharePoint environment, and I download a local copy of that document where I make some edits to some cells, I might inadvertently delete a whole column. And if autosave is enabled and I save it with the same name, when I re-import that file back into the SharePoint cloud, now I've affected the specific data. And if we have multiple data silos across all these different departments, it's only a matter of time before we experience a lot of downtime and a lot of problems with that production environment.
Yep. Yeah, and sometimes it's pretty specific things, and sometimes it's some of those high-level KPIs. So you've got a lot of lean manufacturing companies that use whiteboards,
Mm-hmm.
and the people are going and updating the information on the whiteboard throughout the day, and then somebody has to go in there and actually type all of that information into Excel at the end of the shift, and then they erase the whiteboard and start fresh. But now that information is in Excel. It's kind of the only copy of the information that got captured during that day, and now you've got hundreds of Excel spreadsheets that are all out there, and maybe somebody else has to now go in and consolidate those different spreadsheets into a single spreadsheet that then gets consolidated into a different spreadsheet upstream and so forth. So becomes quite a mess sometimes.
Yeah, and really our goal is to replace those manual errors. We want to unify the teams and we want to speed up the informed decision-making processes. We see this time and time again where users are worried that any custom macros, any custom scripts that are associated with an Excel file will be lost when they go into a new relational database or a new MES system, right? And that's just not the case. Things have evolved since Microsoft Excel. We have many tools available. Each have their pros and cons.
Yep. All right. So, there's a lot of different systems out there today, and there's a lot of different options. Why is it that Excel and Access are still so common?
Yeah, it's a good one. Any computer that you go on the production floor, in the lab, we'll have a copy of some sort of Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Access. If you look at an open source, you might have like Libre Office, Libre Access, etc., Excel. And it's the comfort and the perceived budget limitations still maintain their specific dominance. We see these key barriers with I have a workaround and that will do. I know there's better ways to do it. That will do. Let's say I have 100 machines. I'm going to hard code 0 to 99 because that will do. And Excel really wasn't designed as a production system. As your operation grows, Excel can't effectively grow and scale with you. And we see this time and time again. And the misconception is Excel wasn't designed as a production system. And yet we're seeing quite big manufacturers still pushing Excel in their manufacturing processes. And this, again, leads to excessive downtime, lost production, employee morale goes down, and your overall KPIs and your general efficiencies go down as well.
Yeah, same thing. Like I said, whether it's just capturing some of those KPIs as they're happening, at the end of the day, or maybe it's something like inbound inspection teams don't have a great system already to enter that information, and it's so natural just to create an Excel spreadsheet that just has a bunch of rows. Here's the data I need to put in, and I just put it in a new row for each item I inspect and so forth. So, bottom line is just easy, right?
It's easy, but then we come into issues with naming conventions. If we're expecting a column to have name with N as lowercase, or we're looking for a comma or a period, and some Excel sheets might have different parameters and delimiters. If we have specific API calls where we're getting or we're posting information, if everything is not 100% correct across all the plants or on that one single plant, across all those different versions of those Excel sheets, 404 failed gateway request calls will be constant, right? And at the end of the day, it's all about the naming convention, right? And how is the data being processed? How is the data being transcribed?
Yeah. I mean, I should say it's easy. It's easy in that there's almost no barrier to going down that path. The problem is once you're down that path, you run into all kinds of problems. So,
Yeah.
in terms of what we should be transitioning to as manufacturers, what does that modern strategy look like?
For sure. Since 2019, working with 5 or 6 now different IIoT Industry 4.0 platforms, they all have their core pillars. Um, we're always now pushing the cloud-based type of solution, where let's say if we have a platform through inductive automation, Ignition, or PTC, ThingWorks is application suite, or on-prem connector with Tulip. Once we pass that first core pillar, then we're looking at the HMI, all those dashboards, all the fancy gadgets, all the fancy widgets. I want to see that live in real time. I want to see it on my phone at various pixel densities. I want to see it on my tablet dynamically resizing in portrait mode and in landscape mode. I want to see that on my computer. And again, through Ignition, through ThingWorks, through Tulip. If you're looking at open source, we have Grafana out there where you can create a simple, specific dashboard off of any type of data. And lastly is the automated workflows. If we're looking at Zapier or HubSpot for your customer relations management software, any database integrations, we have those 3 core pillars available under one umbrella. So there's no need for triple licensing, extra features, extra modules here and there. And from what used to be a weeks long worth of time to configure, connect, back up, come up with a schema. Now these new modern tools, you can be up and running with a matter of days, one day, a few hours if you're a real expert. But the goal here is to rely on the data that you can trust upon, with scalable solutions that adapt as our processes evolve. If I can build a template for one machine, and I know that customer has a second or third plant with the same machine, the same thing shapes, with the same parameters, I can generally use that template and all the same parameters for that dashboard to make it work at any site. We're not just building for one customer; we're actually building for that whole portfolio. So this is really what the modern strategy looks like.
And I think that an underrated part that you just touched on, being a lean guy, I'm going to put it in terms of standard work. You're really trying to, as an organization, create those standard approaches, across, all of your different work centers and across your different plants and so forth. And one of the underrated parts of moving away from Excel and moving to some of these different solutions is that you can utilize those tools to help put that standardized process in place and lead people through defined workflow.
Yep.
So
for sure.
In terms of the architecture, can you give us a quick overview there?
For sure. A smart connected architecture looks at a few basic principles. We connect equipment, we connect teams to overall gain a complete efficient system. But we always have to address fears with retention of historical data. Like I mentioned earlier, if we have a couple Excel sheets or Access sheets with custom macros, custom scripts, custom buttons, can we replicate that with Python 2.7? Or can we do that with the JavaScript engine inside of ThingWorks? Really leaning on the operators, the supervisors, the people on the floor that understand the flow, what happens, when it happens, and why it happens, what the HMI should look like, what colors should the properties be on a specific dashboard. Getting the entire team involved is huge when it comes to coming up with a game plan, coming up with a process flow for all of your dashboards, and bridging that gap between management, the operators, the guys on the floor, the guys in the warehouse, and getting a system that's very efficient with not much specific risk. A minimal learning curve too. When we think about creating a application from scratch, you don't really need to be a full stack software developer to get a project actually running in production. You can find software packages with drag and drop and no code environments. Open source software packages are there as well. And all those have online universities where you can learn at your own pace, watch the videos, take those tests, and then you can become certified in some of these major platforms. And really, another thing is getting that specific data.
Right.
Do we have machines that have LAN cards? Are the machines networked? If they're not networked, is there a technology out there that can let us gain access to those tags? And then we have to think about how do we move that data? using Ignition or ThingWorks or Tulip, like I mentioned in the past. We can utilize OPC UA servers, some sort of a MQTT PubSub protocol to get the data in there. And if we look at Ignition and we look at their SQL Bridge module, we can enable logging, and then any specific data from any sensors, temperature, voltages, currents, we can log into a SQL table. And if we have that data in SQL and we have our system connected to our ERP system, now we can make decisions based off of data and analyze and maybe even predict when failures might occur, or get the most efficient KPIs as possible with the data that's available, but really keeping it simple, neat, tidy, not too much on the screen. Build it in a way where if you have a user download an app on their phone, they're just going to know how to use it when that app opens. And that's kind of the way that we designed a lot of these systems. It's not much real user training. Let them figure it out. Password protect specific areas that would be maybe allowed for a supervisor or a manager to look at some additional metrics. But overall, keep the flow geared towards the operator. And then if you have specific management screens, we build those towards that type of mindset.
Okay. You know, one of the things that we talked about earlier is, you know, a lot of reason that people still go with Excel and so forth is that it's such a low barrier to entry. You know, everybody has Excel, it's already there. Everybody can know how to pop up an Excel spreadsheet, put some columns in place and start adding rows to it, right? And for these applications, there's just a bit more of a curve to get started. It's actually easier once you're going down that path. But I wonder if you could share with us a little bit about how Sandalwood actually helps companies get started with this.
Yeah. We think about this trying to break it down to the as small blocks as possible. If we look at the big picture, you can easily get lost. Everything gets lost in translation, and you kind of really need to start somewhere. And we like to start small. Identify the most critical Excel and Access pain points. Normally, we like to pilot on one line or one department in a specific area. And this is why we can create clear roadmaps to scale, tracking these project milestones, where we do provide targeted support or training to these specific users. But most importantly, and again, I mentioned this earlier, is getting that engagement of the operators and the supervisors during that initial adaptation process. If we can gain their trust that the data that they see is correct and they can rely on this new data, not data that they've been using for years, then we just gain their trust in coming up with phase 2 and phase 3 of this specific project, adding more features to a project, making the project user friendly, giving the operators or users on the floor a little bit of control so they can clear alarms or they can do something that they have permission to actually do. And we take small steps, very small steps. We get a win, we get something working, and then we move on. We don't develop for 8 weeks and show a product. We do this in small baby steps, get the confidence of the customer, get the confidence of that team so they can trust the process, trust the work, and they'll be happy with the finished product. And this is how we go about a lot of projects, not only in systems integration, but in our systems engineering team, injury prevention, and our ergonomics department as well.
Excellent. So, can you tell us about some client successes that you've had over time?
Yeah. I'm not the subject matter expert on this one particular project. I'll do my best to summarize it. So Inductify Ignition Automation just published a case study on that. I'll have that link available. Tim, I sent it to our team's chat there, so you can have it for the audience to review. But I'd just like to summarize it quickly. So we work a lot with automotive tier 1, tier 2 suppliers, pharma, a lot of different industries. And here we had a pharma customer who previously struggled with Excel-based scheduling. And the issues again here were department-controlled information stuck in those data silos. Frank and yourself, you guys did a webinar the other week on data silos and how it affects having different data across multiple departments. What was going on with this one customer is this decision to keep Excel gave them inconsistent tag updates, which yielded in delayed decision making and visibility to make the right choice. So Sandalwood was approached with this task, and we implemented a web-based Ignition scheduler utilizing Ignition's perspective module in version 8.3, I believe. Pretty much what this allowed the customer to do is we gave them real-time centralized data and scheduling. With the SQL Bridge module, they were able to ingest data from their MES and ERP systems, which dramatically reduced their decision-making and reporting capabilities. Ignition has a way to also add in a little bit of additional security. So we were able to capture the Active Directory tickets and tokens to authenticate the users that log into the platform with the Active Directory. And in this one case with pharma, we were able to achieve the regulatory compliance with CFR 21 Part 11. We always like to get a survey done when we finish a project. And I got some client feedback on this one particular project. And I quote, "They provide a great flexibility, creating an intuitive interface everyone can use effectively." This was a very long project. Again, you can read about it in the push there from Inductive Automation. But it's just another example where we had a very huge pharmaceutical company, very huge, and relying on Microsoft Excel and complaining that the sheets take too long to load or that the macros are failing, right? And it took a lot of time working with the IT department, the team in scheduling to really dissect what they wanted to do, what they wanted to show, how often they wanted that to update without giving the user, the operator, too much information.
All right. Let's see. I know that case study is also linked on the LinkedIn page for the Sandalwood integration team. And so if anybody in the audience wants to look it up there, they're more than free to do so. If anybody has questions, please put them into the chat. We'll get to them in just a minute. I think that we're done with the slides. Let's see. So information on how to contact Sandalwood for me. If you're on this event, my information is right there, so you can just click on me and send me a direct message through LinkedIn if you like. But Sandalwood, there's a lot of different ways to contact them, and I'm pretty sure that QR code in the lower right will take you to the website. Any kind of final thoughts, Thomas?
You know, when we started before this this call, we had a chat, and how things have evolved from a metric of wishing that this product existed, or oh man, like it would be great if we had this type of capability, required so much effort to get working, whether it's a custom widget, something custom that is completely on your specific system that you get running, to where now, 5 years later, 6 years later in 2025, drag and drop, no code environment. If you can copy a cell in Microsoft Excel, if you can use PowerPoint, you can definitely design a fully blown MES solution in a matter of weeks, days, months. it's just getting that the expertise and the support is very, very, very critical, right? And this is, I think, where Sandalwood shines is we really build solutions to customers that don't really need much training. Everything is fully documented, and we're always pushing the bar to drive and innovate with new features. I'm happy to be part of the Sandalwood Systems integration team. We got a great set of guys here, like I said, in Canada, Mexico, and in the US. And we're eager to what 2025 and 2026 has to offer, for sure.
Yep. Let's see. I'll throw a recommendation out there that Sandalwood has been my closest partner for I think 7 years now, and they do fantastic work and they're great people to work with. Thomas, we're going to be talking again in a couple of weeks, digging more into one of the different solutions that you referenced today with ignition by inductive automation, and
Yeah,
look forward to talking to you again.
yeah, for sure. No, I hope everyone had a great time. Looking forward to continue this chat. I know we've been pushing quite a bit of webinars here, and I just like to keep the ball rolling. I'm happy to be a guest.
All right. Thank you, sir. Talk to you later.
All right, Tim. Take care, brother.
All right.